my mic wasn't on. Hey comrades, welcome back to the channel. I'm the Obnoxious Anarchist. I don't know how many people we're gonna get on this stream, just based off the fact that Paul Morin is doing a stream with fellow travelers, so that's pretty cool. I guess there's a lot of people there. What is up? We'll just wait a bit, listen to some music. This is a band called the Prowlers from Montreal. Some of that Montreal oi. Pretty fucking sick band. Like, I remember when I was a little bit younger, when I was in high school and shit like that, we had a neo-Nazi in our school. And not just like some fucking like on the DL Nazi guy. Like, this dude was fucking... Okay, click to read your unread notifications. Fuck that. Anyways, no, this dude was a Nazi. Like, this dude would walk around the school wearing like an SS jacket and shit like that. He threatened to kill me because I was wearing like a fucking anti-swastika pin. He told me a button. He told me take that shit off or I'll kill you. Yeah, so this dude was like straight up a Nazi. And I remember this band, the Prowlers, one time at a Prowlers show. That dude, the dude who I went to school with, his name ended up on like an Anti-Racist Action Canada website or something like that. And yo, this fucking dude got chased out of the show. Like it was amazing. Like when the Prowlers were at their peak, like yo, you'd have none of these Nazi skinheads coming around and like bopping around and fucking with people and shit, because you know the Prowlers would be there, fuck them all up. So yeah, in terms of, I guess there's not a lot of people here, not much to bounce off of, so I guess I could start here. I wanted to give a little bit of backstory about like what's going on here in Montreal. There's been like, hey, 5 people, welcome to the channel, comrades, what's happening? So for this stream, basically just want to talk a little bit about like what's been going on here locally on the municipal level, and a little bit about what's been going on the federal level in terms of banning the putting the Proud Boys onto a terror list. They're considered terrorists. So I want to talk firstly a little bit about what's going in Montreal, then I'll talk a little bit about the Proud Boys. I was supposed to do a live stream with Ewoks Unhinged, but that fell through, so I guess I could talk a little bit about it here. And then after that I have, you know, a video, one cringe video that we're gonna watch. And separately I have another video right after of Comrade that I want to take a look at. So it'll be like this new segment called the cringe video, Comrade video. And anyways, they're not that long, they're about 5 minutes each. So anyways, what's been going on here in Montreal? I guess like, we could start off by saying, you know, Montreal is a city of 3 million people. It's not that big of a city. I mean, it's a pretty big city compared to Canada. Canada only has about like 30 million people population. So what's been happening here in Montreal, especially in December and January, like, you know, the later stages of the lockdowns and stuff like that, there's been a hell of a lot more gun violence. And I would say that in the past year or two, there's been like a lot more guns generally. People can just access guns like easier, even though, you know, obviously in Canada it's very illegal. We have very strict gun control laws and stuff like that. But anyways, so December and January, like especially like where I grew up in the east end of Montreal, there's been a lot of shootings and shit like that. Phil Quota, you like my hat? America was never great, what can I say? So yeah, so there have been a lot of shootings, and it's preoccupying because there's a lot of shit that basically was happening in, you know, in the neighborhood that I grew up in, and on the streets that I used to play in as a kid and stuff like that. So it's just been on my mind a lot lately. Obviously with the COVID lockdowns and the curfews, people are just like at their wits end and shit like that. So, you know, with this huge new rise, this huge new influx of like gun violence and shit like that, especially in the East End, you know, the impotence of the police really starts to show. So you have public pressure campaigns on the police, of course, like like, what's going on over here? You all are supposed to be doing your jobs, but instead the amount of shootings and the amounts of violence in the East End are just going up exponentially. So obviously what the police do is I think it was just like a couple of weeks ago, or 2, 3 weeks ago, they did a raid in one of the poorer neighborhoods of Montreal, which is called Montreal North. And it's a neighborhood that it's a majority black neighborhood. So it's a majority like of Haitian descent and stuff like that. So of course after this whole fucking thing, the police do like let's say like sting operations inside of Montreal North and stuff like that to make themselves look like as if they're doing something, some kind of semblance of keeping the population safe. So they do these raids and they do we busted into this apartment building, we harassed a bunch of poor people, we found some guns, we found some weapons, we're good now, we're good now. And that is not true, because just this past weekend there have been 3 shootings in Montreal in the East End. 3 shootings, 2 deaths. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because specifically the last one, a 15-year-old girl was shot to death. She was a student from Algeria. She came to Montreal. She was studying and shit like that. I guess she was with the wrong person. She was with another 21-year-old male who was also shot, but he didn't die, and stuff like that. And like, so like this is just a clear example of how like this traditional policing model that we have in Montreal, it's not gonna change the amount of guns on the streets. They always say that they want to get the guns off the streets, but I mean, people will still be killing each other and people will always have access to guns. It's like, okay, what are the police doing in these neighborhoods to alleviate poverty, to give people options so that they don't have to resort to gun violence and stuff like that? And Montreal North, it's a well-established neighborhood. It's had gangs in it for decades and decades and decades. And the one thing that I find especially funny is that why are the police going into these neighborhoods where it's just like low-level gangs and stuff like that? Okay, for sure some of them are you know, the leaders of those gangs are extremely prominent and stuff like that. But what you're basically doing is you're going into apartment buildings of poor people who are acquiring guns because they need to protect their territories and shit like that. But if you really want to get guns off the street, you'll go after the mafia. You're not going to start going into the neighborhoods of, like, you know, run down fucking apartments and shit like that. You're going to find a small bag of crack and two guns. You're not stopping nothing. Here's one of the, oh yeah, here, I wanted to show it. Here's one. So police crack down on gun traffickers after violence in Montreal. So it's been a spat of violence, and here it says the police operation was conducted in response to a series of violent events that have taken place in Montreal North and Montreal East recently. And one funny, I guess, not so funny, but one thing I do want to say is that after the 15-year-old girl was shot and killed in St. Leonard, this was just 2 days ago. You know what the cops started to do? They started to, like, trot around St. Leonard on fucking, like, horseback and shit like that. Like, you really think that people are gonna be looking at you and say, oh, thank you, police on horseback. You've come here to make my city nice and safe. And a 15-year-old girl was just shot to death right at the corner that you guys are gallivanting and doing all this garbage. After a supposed raid that they hailed as such a success, you know? It is incredibly sad. It's incredibly sad. Like, that person didn't have to lose their life. They're not even from Montreal. They're a student from Algeria who came here to study. So that's the story of Montreal. Where it's a lot more gun violence. The curfew is making people more and more agitated. Like, it's making the police more agitated, so they're harassing people more, and it's making just regular citizens more agitated. I think there something that happened in a neighborhood called Park Extension in the North End, where a police officer was, I think he was shot. I think somebody grabbed the officer's own weapon and then tried to shoot him with it, but he just discharged the weapon. Hey, Ludlow Vert, how are you? Pippa, what's happening? Phil Quota, Falcone General. Yeah, we got a little bit less people here today because I'm thinking that everybody's watching the Paul Morin and fellow traveler stream, which is cool too. Hey, person one, how are you? So this is incredibly distressing and stuff like that. And obviously, you know, we're not gonna see any kind of meaningful response from the police. Like the violence in Montreal is just gonna continue getting worse and worse. And you know, like as poverty gets worse and worse in these neighborhoods, specifically Saint Leonard, Montreal North, Saint Michel, all these neighborhoods, as poverty gets worse and worse, obviously the violence is gonna get worse and worse. But the police are gonna stick to the fact that okay, we do a raid in one house and everything should be okay. That's not the way it works. Person 1 still coming down from an insane acid trip. I hope that it was safe at the very least. Yes, you see, the lockdown pressure equals more violence, and yeah, it's really manifesting. I guess I just really wanted to rant about this because it kind of fucking hit really hard to home. It hit really close to home and shit like that. Like literally, this is the corner that I used to pass through this alleyway just to get to my buddy's place every day, you know what I mean? So it hit home for me. Obviously the community is shook. I mean, like it's not very look, in Montreal we get like 30 murders a year. 30. So it's not that much, but it is fucked up, you know what I mean? And I could see as a local that the trend is getting worse. And all the higher ups, the mafiosos and shit like that, they're making all kinds of money through these arm sales and stuff like that. But the people that suffer are the low level gangs. You know? Oh, they're not gonna go raid a fucking mansion and get the guys who are actually bringing the guns in and doing all this kind of shit. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to go to the poor neighborhoods where people are just trying to protect their small little piece of turf, and they're going to arrest them. It's pretty convenient for them because they never have to get rid of the root problem, and then everybody will keep on thinking that police are necessary. And yeah, that's not a good thing. Alright, so let's move on here. Now I want to talk about the Cringe video that I want to feature in today's live stream. Is none other than Tim Pool. This fucking moron. Alright, well, to be completely honest with you, I don't ever watch Tim Pool. I think his content, if not nefarious, borders on just like ridiculous. It's to use a tired old figure of speech. Like I feel like I'm losing brain cells every time I listen to this guy and shit like that. But anyways, I saw a very fucking interesting title here. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, I guess we can keep it like that. So here, the title. Yeah, I'll be talking a little bit about eco-fascism. I mean, eco-fascism would take like an entire stream of its own, but I'll be talking about it a little bit later. Like, eco-fascism certainly would take a stream of its own, but I just want to tell a little story about how easy it is for eco-fascists to kind of hide within leftist spheres, especially in the leftist spheres where, you know, they're mostly just like economically left. They don't really care about social issues and stuff like that. So a lot of the tendencies just tend to be very reactionary. So I do want to talk about eco-fascism in that capacity. But first we'll go through this. Obviously, I don't want to watch this whole 22 minutes. I'm not able to put myself through that amount of pain. But here, so the title is France says American leftism out of control, wokeness are toxic and threaten French culture. This is incredibly funny because, like, first of all, this idea of wokeness, which I'll get into a little bit later about, like, what woke actually means, is not a product of just well, if we're looking at wokeness as just adherence to like social justice and stuff like that, caring about social injustice and shit like that, that's not unique to America. It's kind of fucking, there are strains of progressiveness that happen everywhere. So just framing this as like, but anyways, let's watch a little bit here. Please let me know if the Person one says here, yeah, being knowledgeable about current issues is toxic, you know, like. Anyways, let's hear what this dumpster fire has to say. I mean, maybe he can completely change my worldview in half a second. Let's see. Not that I give this Tim Pool individual's argument any credence. He's yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I'm not showing this to give any kind of credence or legitimacy to what this guy is talking about. I kind of just want to watch a bit of 5 minutes and laugh at him a bit, you know? Hey, let me know how the volume is. Oh! Music was still on, my bad.
Some of its leaders think so. Politicians and prominent intellectuals say social theories from the U.S. on race, gender, and post-colonialism are a threat to French identity and the French Republic. Now that is amazing.
Let's just go back for a second. Politicians and prominent intellectuals say social theories from the United States on race, gender, post-colonialism are a threat to French identity and the French Republic. Well, I'd have to say one thing to France. Don't act like you don't have race problems in France. B, don't act like you don't have gender problems in France. And C, don't act like France is not a post-colonial, neo-colonial nation right now. So, right off the bat, Tim Pool reads this tiny little abstract, and like it's kind of weird because he sounds excited about it. He sounds like as if like this is some kind of a fair representation of progressive ideas coming from the evil United States of America.
Are a threat to French identity and the French Republic. Now that is amazing.
That is amazing. That's amazing.
They say high-profile intellectuals and journalists are warning that progressive American ideas, specifically on race, gender, post-colonialism, are undermining their society. There's a
Okay, look, I just want to... Look, there was just a fucking... France right now is on a fucking brink of passing a bill that if you film the police for... Yeah, if you just film the police or take a picture of the police, you can be charged and you can go to jail for up to a year in prison. And all of this special law that they're creating and all of this backlash that's happening in France at the moment, this is all because a black man was beaten savagely on camera by police. And that fucking footage was leaked to the public. So, like, to assume that race theory and post-colonial theory and gender theory and all that kind of stuff is specific to America, I mean, that's just fucking A, it's incorrect. B, it's malicious. And yeah, I'm just gonna read some of the comments here. Ludlow Vert says not. Yeah, okay, yeah, we already read that. These are the type of guys who are still Islamophobic. Like, get with the trends, bro. Yeah, for sure. Islamophobia not even trendy. Well, I mean, I'd say Islamophobia still is very trendy in the mainstream. Okay, like, you're not hearing about it as much, sure, yes, but, like, just give it some time. In Montreal, it's still very, like, in Quebec in general, because I guess it changes from context to context, but here in Montreal, like, in Quebec generally, the Islamophobia is rife. I mean, it was just 4 years ago that there was the mosque shooting, where one crazy fucking right-wing fascist decided to, you know, go into a mosque and kill people. Like, it's fucking disgusting. But yeah, if anybody like is interested in learning about like the colonial context of France, you should read Frantz Fanon and stuff like that. Learn about the war in Algeria, how they conquered Algeria, how they conquered Morocco. There have been race problems in fucking France spanning back probably hundreds and hundreds of years. So to assume that, you know, all these things are coming from the United States, it's a little bit disingenuous. Not only that, but it feeds into narratives of the right wing and other reactionary tendencies around the world. You know, because a lot of people think that like it's a Western thing that we you know, like let's say, okay, gender abolition, not even gender abolition theory, just fucking like recognition of trans people, seeing gender as a spectrum, feminism, things like that. They're like a lot of the times I see in the reactionary circles, it's pointed to as like Western decadence or like Western bourgeois and shit like that. But at the same time, we have to understand that it's the the Western model of mother, father, cis heterosexual. That's what was used to colonize the world. We're not using gender theory to colonize the world. This is like anyways, I understand why Macron is doing it, because currently in France there's about to be an election and he wants to take voters away from Marine Le Pen, who is, you know, obviously the very far right candidate, you know. That dude over there, how you doing? What's happening, comrade? It's good to see you. Biden sent 200 soldiers to Syria. No mainstream news. I didn't hear about that, but it makes complete sense. And also, like, he started talking about some shit about ending the war in Yemen and stuff like that, but like nothing he said would be leading to any kind of like meaningful change in the region. Obviously, I mean, we're still like, the United States and Canada, to the best of my knowledge, are still selling weapons to Saudi Arabia to be dropped on Yemen. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the eco-fascism. Anyways, we're not gonna stay too long on this fucking chud over here. I just want to like, honestly, I just want to make like a little clips video after and like just have that as a separate little video that I could share around and stuff like that, because sometimes these longer form streams, like, yeah, people don't really want to watch them and shit like that. Hey Quindy, what's happening? Yeah, I figure I'm pretty sure you're gonna go watch Paul Morin and stuff like that. After the stream, I'm gonna, if they're still going, I'll go, you know? But it's good, those are comrades. Good comrades. So we'll just continue a little bit over here. So so far we've watched, and 31 seconds in, Tim Pool is excited about an abstract that is completely ahistorical. But I wouldn't expect anything less from Mr. Tim Chud, Pim Chud Tool over here, as that dude over there says. Yo, you guys are funny. Not even Paul. I'm gonna keep. Oh shit, Quindy. Solidarity to you, comrade. I'm trying to praise you, but my hand's broken. Have a good one, Quindy. It's good to catch you. And everybody else here, thanks for being here for sure. Like, it's been a rough couple weeks for me, to say the least. But it's nice to see you all. Okay, so we'll continue watching this, and like I said, I don't want to watch too much because it's like fucking brain dead shit.
Battle to wage against an intellectual matrix from American universities are under that progressive American ideas, specifically on race, gender, post-colonialism, are undermining their society. There's a battle to wage against an intellectual matrix from American universities, warned Mr. Macron's education minister. Emboldened by these comments, prominent intellectuals have banded together against what they regard as contamination by the out-of-control woke leftism of American campuses.
Regarded as a contamination. We know where that language starts to go, right? And this fucking article was written in the New York Times. Tim Pool is so happy that he found this reactionary article from a fucking liberal news source. But, Tim Pool, your analysis is completely wrong. There's no, what we call the left and liberal in the United States does not exist. It's just center-right. So I don't know why you're shocked that the New York Times magazine, the New York Times newspaper would put out an article that you somewhat disagree with. And yeah, Pippa, exactly. Like, dude, as soon as people start using shit like this, like especially white reactionary people using words like contamination, vermin especially, like or infections and like diseases, is like dude, this is language that Hitler used to use before he would dehumanize groups of people, and we all know where that leads, you know. So just to reread the little emboldened, yeah, so that's it. He highlights woke leftist and American campuses as if French campuses are not fucking progressive. Have you ever heard of the Sorbonne? Have you ever heard of 1968? Like, this person is completely ahistorical. And 1968, this was 50 years ago. I mean, about 7 years ago. It's not that far. This is not ancient history. Wow, man. And what's shocking is that this thing has almost 280,000 views. Here, I'll just read a comment quickly. That dude over there says, social media and the news media are controlled by the far left. Who's Adam Calhoun? I don't know who that is, but for now, let's just continue.
And attendant cancel culture. Of all of the countries in Europe that we would point to, France is particularly left. Not the, like everyone...
France is not particularly left. Like, there have been, like, socialist projects that have happened in France, yes, but they have all been fucking destroyed violently. That is not the sign of a progressive left-wing country. That's the sign of a right-wing reactionary country that's willing to fucking like people at the Paris Commune. I think the Commune at its height was about 30,000 people, and the French state killed everybody. Like, just fucking started shooting everybody. So I don't know where this guy gets his idea that he thinks that France is a left-wing country. Come on.
Everyone likes to point to Scandinavia, but come on. The French Revolution, the leftists, the socialists, the Jacobins.
Yo, this guy is so off the mark.
I'm not saying that they're the furthest left, but, you know, they're one of the examples people cite, especially considering...
Okay, wait, let's just listen to this. I don't know why I'm pausing so much. Sorry.
I'm not saying that they're the furthest left, but, you know, they're one of the examples people cite. The Jacobins. I'm not saying that they're the furthest left, but, you know, they're one of the examples people cite. Especially Jacobins. I'm not saying that they're the furthest left, but, you know, they're one of the examples people cite.
I'm not saying that they're far left, but it's one of the examples that people cite. So, bro, where are you getting your ideas from? From these, like, just random people who cite France as a leftist country, so you go back and you regurgitate it without having any kind of, like investigation of on your own, you know? Person one asks for my opinions on Jacobin Mag. Sometimes they write good shit. A lot of times they write some shit.
Especially considering Jacobin Magazine is a socialist magazine. And they...
Is Jacobin Magazine even in France? I'm gonna check that out. Excuse my yeah, so I guess it's in Jan. I guess it is. So that's okay. Let's continue here.
They're stepping up and saying nah to all this stuff, which is good, because in my opinion, the wokeness on the left is infecting left ideas.
Well, here we go again.
Because in my opinion, the wokeness on the left is infecting left ideas. And
the wokeness on the left is affecting left ideas. I'm pretty sure that if we asked Tim Pool if I ask Tim Pool what is the crux of left politics, he will not know that it's anti-capitalist.
And turning it into a weird dogmatic cult ideology that makes no sense. And I saw the best tweet.
Check that again.
The wokeness on the left is infecting left ideas and turning it into a weird dogmatic cult ideology that makes no sense. And I saw
a weird dogmatic cult ideology that makes no sense. It seems like he's really projecting here, because socialism is a tradition that goes back decades and decades and decades, but this person fails to even vaguely describe what he believes in on a regular basis. When it's convenient for him, he'll say he's left. When it's convenient for him, he'll say he's right. But if you really look at the overall content that he creates, look, just with the language, out of control wokeness, and he's fucking horny about this article. He's fucking, like, he's getting turned on by it. He's so happy that the supposed socialist utopia of France is talking bad against women's rights, LGBTQ rights. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is fucking losing it. Has lost it. Yeah, person one, a weird dogmatic cult ideology that makes no sense. Like, but a lot of people say that about socialism. A lot of people on the right, they do use that kind of language to describe socialism. So it doesn't really surprise me from here.
The best tweet to explain it. You guys, I want.
Everybody, listen to this. Tim Pool saw a tweet that can best describe his idea of what he's talking about right here. Let's see what this tweet has to say. This enlightened tweet here.
It makes no sense. And I saw the best tweet to explain it. You guys, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I saw a really wonderful tweet breaking down like gender ideology. They said sexism is when you say, when someone says that women should be, they believe, doing the dishes, not men. Feminism is when the woman comes out and says both men and women can be doing the dishes. And gender ideology says anybody who does the dishes is a woman. You get it?
Dude, this guy is delusional. First of all, what are these simplistic fucking definitions of what he's talking about?
Feminism is when the woman comes out and says both men and women can be doing the dishes.
Feminism is both men and women can do the dishes. Okay, Tim Pool, thank you. Thank you for that. In this tweet that best describes what you're thinking here. Oh, it's fantastic.
And gender ideology says anybody who does the dishes is a woman.
First of all, what do you mean by gender ideology? Because there really is no ideology behind it. Gender is a social construct, and sex is biological. Social constructs help us understand our biological ties. This is not some kind of like out there theory. It really is just fucking like basic social sciences. I don't know what this person thinks, and and this is what he's upset about. So people who believe in gender as a spectrum just want every it means that if you wear a dress you're a woman. Yo, come on, man.
You get it? Like that's pretty, like, I saw that and I was like, that's actually a good example of like what's happening. Because you look at actual traditional feminism and it's like women and men can wear whatever they want.
No, traditional feminism, especially, well, if you're talking about fucking United States and Canada and stuff like that, traditional feminism was about suffrage. It was for the right for white women to have the vote. White women to have the vote even before black men of color. So traditional feminism does not say that everybody can do the dishes. I mean, like, yeah, it's definitely a part of it. Everybody can do the dishes, especially when women were expected to take control of that housework primarily, without help from the men.
Now, in the modern era of this critical theory, it's whoever wears feminine clothes is a woman, and whoever wears masculine clothes is a man, which is not, doesn't make a whole...
I assume that he's trying to talk about fucking like transgender here. I'm sorry, my dog. I assume he's trying to talk about transgender here, but that's not what transgender is. You can't just like wear a dress and I mean, fuck. There's a lot of people who wore dress. Like Fat Mike from NoFX wears a dress and he still calls himself a man. Kurt Cobain used to wear a dress and he still calls himself a man. Just because drag queens wear dresses, but a lot of them still consider themselves men. They don't consider themselves trans. So you can already see that like he's just looking for an opportunity to pin vulnerable people, especially trans people, into a corner. Completely disregard their existence by what's the words? I can't find my words today. You deny their existence by completely like changing the definition of what it means to be trans and stuff like that.
Whole lot of sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's actually kind of interesting, and just because I'm a practicing Muslim, and this story in France, it impacts me in a way because of obviously the struggles that the French people have had with sort of this rising threat.
I don't know who this person is. They say that they're a practicing Muslim, and that's fine. Let's continue.
Threat of Islamic terrorism in the last decade. But with respect to your...
I love how he's explains how like, oh, the Islamic terrorism has been on the rise for the past couple of decades, but he does not talk anything about the France's positions inside of Muslim countries. Especially Algeria and stuff like that.
Your point about, whoever wears women's clothes and men's clothes, like, I've read obviously in like religious in Islamic scripture that like a sign of the end of times is like when you cannot tell the difference between men and women.
Is that really in there?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
it's kind of scary in a way.
This guy is not. That is not a thing. I know that I've done like a little bit of research on the subject, and I do know that like, okay, one sign of the end times in Islam is that you will have way more women than men. So the polygamy would have to, it would be like really like 50 women for one man. And not only that, but he's taking this like completely literally and shit like that. Why doesn't he talk about the fucking 40 or 50 other signs of the end times in Islam? Let's just look at some of the signs of the end times in Islam. Holy shit, am I have to go through this? Signs, okay, so here, greater signs. Sexual immortality appears among people to immorality. So sexual immorality appears among people to such the extent that they commit it openly, except that they will be afflicted by plagues and diseases unknown to their forefathers. So like, you can definitely have like a homophobic, transphobic interpretation of this, or you could just say that like people are raping more often, or you know, people are having sex with out of wedlock or anything like that, you know what I mean? But obviously if a homophobe reads that and interprets it that way, or a transphobe, as if it seems in this situation, people cheat in weights and measures, business and trades and are stricken with famine, calamity, and oppression as a result. So why doesn't he mention any of these things, you know? To him, the end of times is that men look like women, women look like men. Armageddon. This dude doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. They break their covenant with God. Men and women partake in shir and shirk. They travel the world through attaching themselves to, you know, causing mischief. The sun would rise from the west that Friday. So like, hey, you know, this is one good one that I like. The sun would rise from west that Friday. Anyways, that's enough of that.
Again, this is religious stuff. If you subscribe to this,
you see, but like this all goes back to what I was talking to before, like just the article in and of itself, where it says that like, okay, France is against the American woke left and something like that, trying to say that there's some kind of like American imperialism going on in France or some kind of shit like that. Like it all ties into like a trend that I'm seeing, where people think that like you know, trans rights and gay rights and all these kinds of things, like human rights is explicitly like a Western phenomenon, and that to be, yeah, that like being pro-trans is somehow like an imperialist thing or something like that. So like,
Islamic faith, that you probably know what I'm talking about.
You can't even represent your own faith. I mean, you just told me that one of the signs of the end times is when men start looking like girls, and then this is, you know, like...
But, you know, religion obviously isn't for everyone, and it's all based on faith.
Hey, Angles, what's happening? Sorry.
I mean, I do believe in a God. I do believe that there is a life after this one, but I'm not going to be dogmatic and just preach to you what is right. And
I'm not going to be dogmatic, but as soon as you see men dressing like women, it's Armageddon. It's the end times. I'm not going to be dogmatic, though. But trust me, bro, if you see men dressing in dresses, it's the end of the world. Don't worry about the capitalist fucking moguls that are destroying the planet day in and day out. It's the men wearing dresses. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
was wrong.
Honestly, dude, Tim Pool and this person, I don't know who the fuck he is, but seems like pretty lame excuses of a human being to me.
But with respect to this, about this sort of, you mentioned the word contagion. That is obviously very fascinating because
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating too, but probably for very different reasons.
for the longest time, at least for the last like century, the Red Scare has been considered long held in Europe as like an international contagion, this threat of communism that is going to jump from one country to the next, and for it to kind of be turned on its head and say that that's coming from the United States based on how woke everyone has become, it's pretty stunning, really.
Yeah.
Okay, but what does that mean, stunning? I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. And now, I think I'm gonna watch like 30 more seconds, and then I want to talk about wokeness. I want to talk about this idea of wokeness.
The Daily Mail had an interesting blurb about this that I think describes everything that we're talking about, and they said,
The Daily Mail had a very interesting blurb.
quote, "They are arguing that American ideas on race, gender, post-colonialism, especially those coming from U.S. universities, are undermining French society and are an attack on French heritage." I mean,
Go fuck yourself. What the fuck is French heritage? Get the fuck out of here.
that's a pretty bold statement, and of course a lot of people would agree, but a lot of people are even scared to agree to that because of...
You see, look, like, look at this slimy little fuck over here.
and are an attack on French heritage. I mean,
So, like, the idea here that he's saying that the Daily Mail proposes is that the reason that... Oh yeah, so the, like, all this woke Americanism and stuff like that is destroying French heritage. It's yeah, that's it. Okay, I forgot what I was gonna say. Let's continue.
I mean, that's a pretty bold statement, and of course...
Okay, yeah, so the premise is that American wokeness is infecting French heritage. Now look how he frames this. He says that, like, now a lot of people agree with that statement, and a lot of people are afraid to agree. Look at that. Look at the dichotomy that he presents about this idea.
Are an attack on French heritage. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement, and of course a lot of people would agree, but a lot of people are even scared to agree to that.
So those are the only two answers that he presents as, like, acceptable. It's either you agree with that fact or you're too scared to talk about agreeing. Well, let me tell you, Mr. I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but I disagree. There's also that option. Usually, yeah, so... But there's a lot of this dishonesty in the Tim Pool show, and his whole fucking entourage, to be honest.
Because of our current political climate, and to have France, of all countries, call it out.
France of all countries! France is a neo-colonial fucking hellhole. What are you talking about? They're acting as if France is this socialist utopian heaven or something like that. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. That dude over there, Western civilization. But that's it. These people are just stuck in their white Western paradigms, and they refuse to see anything outside of it. France of all countries, man. Like, dude, just do a short history on France and colonialism, race in France. Even if you just look at contemporarily, just a couple of months ago, a black man was beaten senseless on fuck. That's why there's all these riots happening in France, because that video leaked. And right now, the cops are trying to make it so that if you film the police, or if you take a picture of the police, you can suffer 1 year in prison. Like, what kind of a fucking leftist sanctuary is this?
Is extremely interesting, especially with...
Everything's extremely interesting. These people, everything is splendid and stupendous and stunning and interesting and contagious and infected. Listen to the language that they use to describe what kind of language they use to describe who and what.
With individuals like Emmanuel Macron, a former Rothschild banker who was deemed the savior of Europe. He was deemed...
I don't know why Rothschild had to be put into this, but he was a banker. I don't know if he had any connections to Rothschild.
Deemed as this superstar. The mainstream media loved him. We were there. Were you there with me when we were there for Emmanuel?
Anyways, that's all I'm gonna fucking talk about this loser. I'm gonna read some comments and then I'll start talking about wokeness a little bit. 14 people in chat. How are you, comrades? What's happening? I'm the obnoxious anarchist. It's been a little bit of a slow stream. I ain't feeling it too much today, but we'll continue trucking on. And I appreciate you all being here and listening to what I have to say, even though when I stumble on my words, it can be a bit annoying and stuff like that. So thank you all. I do appreciate it. Person 1 says, free market is all good. Da, 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 da. Vive Proudhon. Vive l'anarchisme. Damn right. Bankers with a W? What does that mean? Pippa, talking to you. So anyways, let's look at some of these comments first of all. Ludlow Vert says, wokeness is refusing to drink decaf. It's fucking funny shit. It's a little hot in here, y'all. I'm gonna turn the heat down a bit. So, let's read some comments quickly. Wokeness is a disgusting waste of time. Woke kids can't build anything. Anyone who calls themselves woke are ignorant cattle. Wokeness is a threat to humanity, not just France. It is embarrassing. Wokeness is considered American ideals. I guess that's an American. Excuse me, sorry. Call it Democrat wokeness. Now, I know that wokeness and woke is contemporarily being used as like as a catch-all term for anybody who basically supports any kind of left-wing progressive type of social policies. So when we're talking about you know, destroying hierarchies, social dominance hierarchies. So if we take an anti-racist stance, or an anti-homophobic stance, or an anti-trans stance, this is all considered like woke kind of politics and shit like that. Wankers, yeah, I got you. But let's for a second just look at a history of usage of the term woke. Does anybody here in chat know where woke comes from? Feel free to let me know. Wokeness is chugging soy milk. Oh yeah, and person 1 says, it all goes back to the Jews. Yeah, like what the fuck do you think the bankers means on his shirt? He's such a loser. I really like, this is a good way of putting it, person 1. Those who call themselves woke are swine, who threaten the basic foundation of our society, but at the same time are soy weaklings. That dude over there, so like you're getting a little bit, yeah, there you go. It comes from black slang. That's what I'm looking for. So woke is a term that originated in the United States, referring to a perceived awareness of issues that concern social justice and racial justice. Seems pretty harmless, right? It derives from the African American vernacular English expression stay woke, whose grammatical aspect refers to a continuing awareness of these issues. Blah blah blah. So by the 1940s it resurfaced. Yeah, so wokeness is what you are when you're watching Anarch video essays at 2 a.m. I gotta check out more Anarch stuff, yeah, it's good stuff, huh? So either way, like the main point here is that wokeness comes from the African American community. Now, that word gets reappropriated into the mainstream where it's mostly white people using it, and not only they're not using it as it was meant to be used. In the black community, people would say yeah, you're woke as a good thing, like yo, stay woke. I wanna be woke. I wanna be aware of the fucking the racism in this country. I don't want to be asleep no more. I want to be woke to this kind of stuff. That's where it was generally a very positive thing. Okay, so that's it. This is how wokeness is perceived today. Person one says wokeness is when you post a black square on Insta and vote Biden. So like it's like this fake performative kind of thing, you know what I mean? But either way, as the term goes from the underground in the African American community, it's filtered into the mainstream, which is mostly white people. And what do white people do? Obviously, they're not going to use the word as it was intended to be used, but no, they pervert it. They start using woke not for people who are waking up to the myriad of social oppressions that exist in our society, but instead, wokeness is now used to refer to people, you know, who fight for social justice, but in a derogatory kind of way, in the way that we would describe, like on the left, like you know, just liberals and stuff like that. So wokeness is just another example of black slang being appropriated by, you know, the mainstream white community, and then just completely fucking changing the meaning of the word. Now it's not used as a term of endearment. Now it's used as a term of degradation and stuff like that. And not only that, but it's mostly used to refer to movements like Black Lives Matter and shit like that. So for me personally, taking the word woke out of its context, you know, and then turning it around and using it like taking something from the black community, using it for your own ends, and then not only that, but turning it into something that is then used against the black community. Like this is incredible, and it's the same thing with the term identity politics. The term identity politics gets, you know, a bad rap, and it's like people like to say, oh, it's these libtards and all these woke leftists who use identity politics and shit like that, and it became a demeaning term. But realistically, if you look at the origins of the identity politics as a concept, it comes from the Combahee River Collective Statement, which was a statement written in 1977 by a bunch of black feminists, and it was explicitly a socialist project. So, again, you know, they take these terms, they pervert them, and then the right elements use it as a way to put down the left. So I mean, just try to keep woke out of your lexicon and shit like that. To me, it's like, honestly, and when you have like these fucking white dudes talking a bunch of fucking nonsense, they're obviously, this guy's for sure anti-Semitic. Well, not for sure. I don't know, but come on.
Macron's kind of celebration when he won.
Yeah,
the streets were jam-packed everywhere. Everyone loved him. Then he came in, and then he started popular as he is. That's the contradicting point here.
You know, between Biden and Macron.
Yeah.
And I think.
All right, so that's it for the fucking cringe video. Now it's time to look at a Comrade video, and I highly suggest you go check him out. His name is Scorpio on YouTube, and he just made a fucking really good video about Vosh's takes on black nationalism and like some of the racism that still exists inside the community, not only in the community, but maybe has some real estate in Vosh's head. So I would highly recommend you go check out Scorpio, watch that video. It's about 3 hours long. And in response to kind of I guess in response to the feedback that he was getting in response to that video, he made this video. It's 4 minutes and 24 seconds, but I think it's incredibly valuable for all comrades to watch. Hey Maxwell Glover, what's happening? Pippa says, this is good. I feel uncomfortable with the word woke. Insult or praise. It means nothing now. Whitey has devalued it. Yeah, and 100%, dude. You put it in a very concise way, even more concise than I was saying it, you know? And it's fucking true, dude. We're always appropriating language from black culture, and then we devalue it. We turn it into something that it's completely not, and then the racist white people actually use their language against them. I mean, you just gotta look at the fucking N-word. Obviously, that originates from white people calling black people the N-word, but then it's reclaimed, and then now you have stupid idiots like Vosh who think that oh, it's okay, I could say it in private because it means that the word doesn't have any power over me. But as you're showing that the word has no power over you, you're showing that those fucking white supremacists in your chat and all that shit, they do have power over you. I would rather the N-word have power over me than, like, I don't know, 12-year-old fucking reactionaries that you can barely even fucking get to your channel to debate with. Anyways, I want to watch this video in its entirety, and I think everyone should watch it, and everyone should listen to this because it's fucking good shit.
When people are talking about debate bros, the purpose and the value of them, they talk about them bringing people to the left. But I ask myself a lot, like, what do they really teach you guys about when it comes to leftist concepts and ideas? They just tell you that being a Nazi is bad, racism is bad, sexism is bad, being a homophobe is bad. But, like, let's just kind of make things clear. Like, you don't know anything about these issues. You don't know anything about any concepts. You just heard that racism and all this stuff is bad and that, oh, capitalism is bad. But you don't really know anything. So, like, what's the purpose of these people who aren't really making these people aware or elevating their consciousness? There's no purpose to you guys being here. You're just bringing over, like, reactionaries and giving them a leftist aesthetic. That's it.
That's one thing I really love that he said here, dude, is that it is true. A lot of these debate bros are allowing right-wing reactionaries to come into our spaces, develop a left-wing aesthetic, but essentially still keep a lot of their reactionary views.
A lot of these people are young too, from what I've seen. They don't know anything. They're very young, and they are very confident, very loud and wrong, but they feel entitled to say something. Like, let's just be real. You guys have a very liberal understanding of social injustice, a very shallow understanding of these issues and these concepts. You like to weaponize.
Anybody who uses the term woke has a very infantile understanding of what these, especially when we're talking about racial social justice, you know?
You like to weaponize it for conversations because everyone else is using it. But you don't understand the jargon because you never took the time to research and educate yourself on what these terms mean. Like, if somebody were to say that you're a cracker, you actually try to equate it to the N-word. But the funny thing is that if you did a simple Google...
somebody says that they can't find Scorpio. Just go on my YouTube page and go into the community section. And I had posted his 3-hour video there, but you could just click on his channel and you can...
Google search, you will understand what cracker means. But no, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And your only saving grace is that you debate Nazis. But anyone can debate a Nazi, like how anyone can debate a goddamn toddler. That doesn't make you useful to us. It just means that you're debating the lowest hanging fruit and then giving yourself a pat on the back for doing the easiest thing in the fucking world, because you guys are actually mediocre as hell.
Bro, I could not say it better myself. Like, he's fucking spot on over here. Like, these are some true words, you know? Like, yo, share this video, spread this video. This is a very good comrade of mine, you know? Like, so...
Just make this simple on how pointless and useless these people are. A conversation that has been had online constantly is if it's okay, or what context is it right to say the N-word during a time where black people are dying from COVID disproportionately, are being evicted from homes.
You know, that's even true here in Montreal. Like, as I was explaining before about Montreal North and all there's like a lot of gun violence and shit that's been going on. It's a majority black neighborhood, Haitian descent. Like, oh wait, what did he say? Sorry.
Are dying from COVID.
Yeah, that's it. Like, disproportionately, people in Montreal North are suffering from COVID like way more than the rest of the city. So he's not talking nonsense. He's not bullshitting. The kid, like, he's saying real shit.
Disproportionately are being evicted from homes, getting killed from police brutality, and unable to find employment. That is the conversation. I wish they had that energy for us, the way they want to really say the hard R or even a soft A. You know, I wish they had that energy sometimes. Another thing that people haven't noticed.
Maxwell Glover says, how about just not saying the N-word? There's no need. I don't know why some white dude edgelords don't get it. Yeah, it's very simple. For someone like me and you, Max, it's very simple, but you have to understand, Vosh, maybe he doesn't share the same ideas that we have, you know? Debate probably just tickles the same nodes that sports do for other people. Yes, like the blood sports and shit like that, yeah. That's why I don't like personally engaging it too much. Like, I don't mind making a hit piece here and there, but like to like have a sit down to establish my superiority over somebody and stuff like I don't have to do that to know that my ideas are correct. I live through my actions.
Because they're talking about, oh, they were forming the right wingers, is that they platform right wingers more than they platform black people. Tell me any notable black person that has come on these people's streams and actually was able to educate their audiences on certain concepts and ideas that they have never been introduced to before. We don't see it because their priority is white people. Their priority is right wingers. They prioritize the right more than they prioritize us. So like we have to just bend the knee and just take whatever is coming to us because we have to remain palatable for like racist white people who have to be reformed. Like, yeah, this is not really for us. This is not good for us. We're not safe in these environments, these spaces. You guys could always find somebody better. You could invest in better people, but you don't. Why is that? Well, you assume that you gave up your reactionary beliefs the moment you was watching this content, but who's to say that the reason you're here is not because of reactionary beliefs? Like, maybe you're watching this person because they are reactionary, because you was able to negotiate keeping some of your reactionary tendencies that you hold dear, but also watch this person who will allow you to get away with some of this stuff. Maybe that's the appeal. Maybe the left...
Fuck, man. I'll say it again. I cannot say it better myself. I couldn't have said it better myself, like, straight up.
This aesthetic, plus the reactionary tendencies, is the appeal to some people. Maybe they want to still be the same way they are, fundamentally, but they also don't want to seem like they're racist or stupid or bigoted. Maybe that's the appeal. I don't know. That's an assumption for me. Like, you know, you're not exploring why you're here. You're just saying that, oh, I'm no longer a right winger. But did you do any research? Did you do any, like, rehabilitation? No? Okay. Then, like, who says that you gave up all of that stuff?
Yeah, no, that's 100%, like, and I do see it a lot. I do see a lot of these problems. I do see a lot of problems in the left. Like, okay, I get it. Not everybody is going to be anti... a lot of people are homophobic. A lot of people are racist. A lot of people are transphobic. And this is true worldwide. It's not just kind of true, like, in our own little corners and stuff like that. So, like, I get it. Sometimes we need to talk to people, meet them somewhere, meet them halfway. Because, like, I mean... like a person on the left in like I don't know, somewhere that's an incredibly homophobic, who doesn't, let's say gays are actively persecuted and shit like that, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to talk to someone from there about socialism while talking about, freeing gay people and freeing, even though I do understand that it's something that needs to be as a package, it needs to put together as a package, so I get it. Sometimes when you're talking to certain people, you need to understand where they're coming from and what they'll understand or what's going to go straight over their heads and shit like that. But a lot of the problems that I'm seeing today is like some serious, like people from Europe and stuff like that who are like seriously reactionary, or people from Canada, some so-called leftists from Canada, leftists from the United States, leftists from other parts of Europe, who are peddling all this fucking transphobic shit and stuff like that. So it's like that. A lot of the times these right-wingers come in, but they just want to have a leftist aesthetic, but they want to keep their reactionary beliefs, because for them, socialism does not include freeing homosexuals or freeing trans people or freeing, different persecuted racists and shit like that. The dude over there says, after coming to the left, I've realized how much of crybabies the right are for people kneeling for the flag. Yeah, definitely. So anyways, I really love what Halper said there, what Scorpio said there. it really resonated with me, and I watched that video like 2-3 times. But at the same time, like every time I speak to High Define, High Define, Halper, Scorpio, it's all the same person. Scorpio, when I talk to Scorpio, it's always very nice. I always find things that we agree on and shit like that. So yeah, I guess I was gonna talk a little bit about eco-fascism, but I'm kind of too tired and shit like that. I'll wait. Maybe I'll do a stream like tomorrow or the day after or something when I've got a little bit more energy. Yeah. All right. Well, have a good one, comrades.